Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we're going to talk about that transfer case that I'm going to be installing on the Duramax. Currently it's in its rebuild stage. Actually, Mark, which is the builder, he actually sent me some videos to enlighten you guys on exactly why this transfer case is so unique compared to any other ones out there in the market. I know there's a lot of different types of builds and whatnot for transfer cases. Done a whole lot of research, and I appreciate all your guys' feedback. And surprisingly enough, Mark, which is under Kodiak Truck, which is the company, that's what it's called, he's been doing this for over 30 years. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's been working with drivelines for a very long time, and he knows a whole lot about, you know, the Dodge Cummins, the Duramax, the Power Strokes transfer cases, how they work. He's completely engineered a certain part in there, and you're going to be really impressed. So I want you guys to stay tuned. He's also going to explain to you guys the pump rub kit issue, or the pump rub issue on the cases, and why his build is going to basically not ever have that issue again if you guys were to purchase that. So anyways, we did talk about Ryan's diesel service, right?
No.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay, yeah.
As you said that he was associated with him, yeah.
Yeah, he's working directly with Ryan's diesel service, which Ryan's diesel service is where I got my turbo. My 68mm street turbo. It's kind of a long video. I want you guys to pay attention. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Reach out to him on Instagram, Kodiak Truck. I'll leave his Instagram below, and enjoy.
All right, we're going to do an assembly video now on this case. I've prepped some of the stuff ahead of time. Planetary input gears in, front output shaft assembly. I wanted to get good video of this so you guys can see the difference between our cases and everybody else. In your transfer case, this piece here has got your drive gear on it. They call it a drive sprocket carrier hub. It's got all your clutch mechanism, everything else on it. From the factory, this is our setup. We're metal on metal. Not a great design, but that's what they put in them. You can see the efficiency of this thing by me spinning it. What we do is we send these shafts out. We have them CNC machined. They're plus or minus a half a thou. We actually take our hub, bore it, and add 3 extra bearings in this case that they never had in it. Now when we put this whole assembly together, we drop it on. We've got something that's dropped just an immense amount of friction out of it. If you own a truck that's a 7.5 and newer with a magna case in it, that magna case now has bearings back in it, and they actually use these bearings back in the 90s in the 241 cases and everything else. We're going to go ahead and get this assembly together with the shift on the fly friction piece that's also updated and everything else. This is just such a better way to go than just slamming parts together and putting the same thing together that fails. We're going to get our clutch mechanism all in here and everything else for our shift on the fly. We also updated the center friction piece. From the factory, that piece is a high metallic. We replace it with a piece that's not high metallic. Never was a great fan of pieces that are metal that are wearing. So there's our shaft assembly ready to go in, and we're just going to keep rolling here and put pieces together on this thing. We're going to drop our range hub in and our range fork. Got that in. Now we're going to put our whole shaft assembly in with our mode fork, which is another thing you want to look closely at. Make sure the pads on it are good, nothing's wore. Got that assembly in. Now we're going to drop our chain and sprocket. As you can see, it doesn't take a whole lot of time to put these together if you have your pieces prepped ahead of time and ready to roll. Drop our return spring in, our pickup tube for our oil pump. Drop our magnet back in. We always lube our oil pump a little bit ahead of time, and actually all the bearings and forks and everything in here get a little bit of oil on everything. Just for assembly, we don't know how long they're going to sit on the bench and or on the shelf for. Put our tone wheel in. Got to look at that closely too. A lot of times if the back bearing goes out, we're going to have an issue with that tone wheel. We're going to have marks in it. We're going to have dings, dents, and that will definitely throw you a speed sensor code. Generally speaking, you guys are going to see a P0735. And anytime you see that code, it's not a transmission code. It's basically always related to transfer case failure. So this is basically what we got so far. We'll get the back case half on it, the dowels and everything else. The other thing that's highly critical now is you can see this case is together before we drop the rear housing on. That's the only thing left. We always update these cases. It's always a wise thing to do with a nickel-coated Spicer yoke. The updated yoke and comes with a Spicer factory forged joint. As you've seen when we took this apart, the snap ring groove failure is an issue. The only thing that causes that failure is this yoke binding on that shaft, guaranteed. There's nothing else doing it. You have pressure on this shaft going forward. Where's the back of the magnesium housing with the snap ring groove closed, and that's a definite problem. So we're gonna go ahead, drop the rear case on this thing at this point in time, and get this thing together. All right, we jumped ahead here. We got our dowels in. I've seen a lot of times cores come back where guys got these dowels missing. It's highly crucial they're in there. They're alignment dowels. They keep everything perfectly in line. Don't rely on the bolts to do that. At any rate, we put a light bead of silicone around here. We use the Loctite brand Ultra. We love that stuff. Never, ever in 35 years have I had a leakage problem with any of that stuff. We're going to go ahead, put the rear case half on, bolt her up, and finish her up. These things fit very, very snug, which is a good thing. They can be a real joy to get together sometimes, but you just got to be patient and work with it. You got to spread your snap ring, come in, lift it up, and look at that. Went together perfectly. Gotta love that. Get all our bolts in our proper locations, our mounting tabs and everything, and we'll get everything bolted up here and ready to roll back to Michigan. All right, so basically all we got to do is put our speed sensor in here yet, which does have an O-ring in. Make sure your O-ring is good. You get your speed sensor back in. Also on our drain plugs, which I'll show you here in a second, what we end up using is we use a liquid Teflon on them so we don't have any drips coming off our drain plugs. Put a little liquid Teflon on them, we thread those in, and we're good to go. On our cases, I do not go crazy cranking these things in. This is a brand new rear housing. There's no need for it. You snug them down nice, and you're good to go. Also, on the back of this case, you'll see that we have ours labeled clearly 530 full synthetic engine oil. Been a lot of talk on the internet I've seen about various different fluids, what to run. Here's the problem that we have with straight up ATF. ATF foams like crazy in a transfer case once you're in four-wheel drive. That chain in there will beat that fluid up and aerate the fluid. Now your oil pump can't suck pure oil anymore. The next upgrade from that would be synthetic ATF, which won't foam. Problem with ATF is zero weight oil no matter what you do. He said we prefer the 530 in it for this reason. Some guys say they got a special oil for this case, and that's fine and that's good and great. The oil that they're probably using has a modifier in a 530 type oil to address the piece they call the friction right here. This is an upgraded friction. This is not a high metallic piece. The earlier friction was a high metallic. Again, we don't run those. If you were going to have a factory case and you had that high metallic friction, you would have to have almost something like a posi additive type fluid in with your oil to address that friction modifier in there. We simply get rid of that piece, go to the updated piece in every case. I don't care if I pull one out and it looks brand new. If it's a high metallic, it's going in the garbage. We're putting the updated piece in. With that said, 530 has worked wonders in these cases. I've done this in every chain drive, non-auto track case for the last 20 years that we've been building these cases. Going back all the way into the 241s, 243s in the mid-90s, even the 208 cases, all the way back into square body trucks. The oil just works wonders. We're going to go ahead, off video, finish up putting the seals in and everything else, get this thing boxed up and get her back out UPS today. All right, guys, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about pump rub and everything else. On all our cases here at Kodiak Truck, when we put them together, we only use a brand new aluminum rear. We have a specific one we use only. There's lots of different manufacturers of the aluminum rear housings. As you've probably seen in the video, or will see in the assembly video of the case for Josh, we don't put a case saver in them. We don't put a merchant case half or any of that stuff. All good design parts. Once they've gone to the aluminum rear housing, not necessarily a necessity in my opinion. These new aluminum rear housings, if you look closely at them, they've increased the corners on them quite drastically. And even on the outside of the housing, the areas where it's got to rub through are much bigger. Then we're going to get into the actual design and everything of this. Being aluminum, the aluminum pump itself is not going to cut through the aluminum housing. Reason being they obviously do on the factory ones is because the housing's magnesium and it's butter soft material, our steel little clip breaks, and away we go. By going this route, never had a problem in all the years I've done these. If in fact the aluminum pump was able to rub through the aluminum housing, every 241 case would have pumped rub back in the 90s, and they never did anything like that. So that's the reason we do it. There's no need for it to put that extra part in there. It works wonderful. The best part about doing this aluminum rear housing also is what I addressed in some of the other videos, and that is the snap ring groove in the back. They all fail, every single one of them. If you put the aluminum housing on, you strengthen the snap ring groove, you strengthen the oil pump area, problem solved. Put your nickel yoke in, you're good to go. Also on our machined main shafts, I've had conversation with other customers about that. They ask about it. They say, well, did you weaken the shaft by machining on it? We didn't weaken the shaft. If in fact that shaft's going to break, it's going to break at the snap ring groove in the very rear of the case, behind the actually snap ring groove that holds the bearing in. That's where they always break, because it's extreme load break. Up in the middle of that shaft where we machine it, it only has 125 thousandths of case hardening on it. And basically all we've done in that whole situation is the factory setup that's not machined is hardened, and the hub itself is ductile iron, which is soft material. All we've done is machine the shaft down, which in essence everybody says we made it soft. We've taken some case hardening out of it. The shaft is still what it's made out of, and we've put the bearings in the hub and machined it. So all we've done is reverse the surface areas. When the bearings are turning on the shaft, there's no load, because that turning on it is happening in two-wheel drive only. When you're locked in four-wheel drive, that hub is locked in with part of the shaft and rotating the whole assembly to the front output. Works absolute wonders. So I just wanted to give a brief rundown on what we do and why we do it and how it works. So we hope you find this useful. Again, remember, Kodiak Truck, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We'd be happy to help you out in any way. We're also obviously affiliated with Ryan's Diesel Service. So we got two great names under one roof to serve your truck bumper to bumper. Thanks again for watching our video.
But that's all the time that I have for today, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about this transfer case. I can't wait to receive it. I am extremely pumped, and should be here in the next couple days, and I'm gonna get that video to you as soon as possible, okay, that unboxing vid. So that's it, and I appreciate your time, and we will see you on the next video. Take care.
Bye, guys.